welcome back to the Unbounded Artistry podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the Black Friday madness.
Yes, and what it's like for two creative people to be surrounded by deals and financing options and all these upgrades for your equipment that are available. And then you gotta reel it back in.
Yeah, it's a very difficult and very distracting time of year.
Yeah.
There's just so many deals like plastered everywhere, and there's just like, oh, you can save like $500 right now instantly. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's been some things that we've had our eye on for a while, and then you like, oh, it's Black Friday, let's look at all the deals, and it's very, very tempting, but can't do it.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. I guess we can talk about what we have our eye on.
Go for it.
What I really would like is a 1DX Mark II. But then, if I get that, we have to get everything that goes with it.
What is everything that goes with it?
Well, the memory card we would need is $800. Even though there's a wonderful deal on the 1DX, it's still $5,500 for the camera. $800 for the memory card. That's not including any lenses.
And then if you get a 1D, like you would have to get an L lens, so you're probably looking at least $1,000 for one lens. And if you want multiple, you're looking at a couple $1,000 just for that.
You're gonna need multiple lenses for sure.
So with the camera alone, you're already approaching probably like 10 grand.
Mm-hmm. All the accessories for that, and then with whatever content you get from that, you have to have a computer that's going to be able to handle it.
And our computer right now is not capable because how old is it?
I don't know. I can't math. It's quite old.
But when did you get it?
Well, it's technically a 2012 iMac. However, it started as a 2011, but there was like a malfunction with it. I don't know if people have experienced it, but there was like weird like dark spots behind the screen for some reason. So it was like a known issue, and then they replaced it with the 2012, and I've had issues with it ever since.
That sounds like an amazing time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good computer. It's the iMac 27-inch, so it's a big monitor, and I'm looking at it right now. But it, like, the spring in it broke, so the screen tilts down because there's nothing to hold it up. So I have to have, like, a little box shoved between, like, the back component and the screen so that it stays upright. And it kind of died, so it's running off an external drive right now. I don't know, you rigged it up.
Yeah, so the internal hard drive died. And of course, with these iMacs, the only way to get to that hard drive is literally to peel off the front screen. And I wasn't willing to attempt that myself, and I wasn't willing to pay anybody else to do that either. So I was like, we're just going to run the whole computer off an external hard drive. And that's what we're doing currently. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not the best solution, but right now it's what we got.
Yep. So if I was to invest in a new camera that had that kind of power behind it, I'd need a computer that would support it, which I can't afford to do both. Plus, I would also probably need a new editing program, which I also cannot afford. So one thing leads to the next, to the next, to the next, and we're like, yeah, no, we can't do that. It's not going to work.
Yeah, because you would want to have the machine that could do all the processing, and then you want to have the monitor that can display the 4K video, and then you need the editing program like Premiere, or what's the other one that they use?
I'm drawing a blank.
I'm drawing a blank too. It's not iMovie. What's the upgrade from iMovie?
Final Cut.
A Final Cut. Yeah,
yes.
It's either people use either Final Cut or Premiere. And we don't have either. So we're just an iMovie, so.
Yeah. So we basically just have to keep working with what we've got and keep wishing that eventually we'll be able to upgrade little by little. The thing that we've been thinking about is like, okay, we want a new camera, but we need to make sure that we have the other things that can back up that camera. So it's been kind of difficult to figure out what the best step is. Like, what do you get first so that when you get the other equipment, everything follows and like will work together. So it's been a challenge.
Yeah, the other challenge is that technology just changes so fast. It's like, you're like, should I wait for the next model to come out, or should I just get what's out there currently? And then you like start doing research, and then you're like, oh, there's so many rumors saying that this thing is supposed to be released at the end of the year, and then when that comes by, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, it's gonna happen in spring, and then spring comes and nothing happens, and you're like, it's like a never-ending cycle. Like,
Yeah.
you can always be looking forward to something in the future, but it's
Yeah.
like, what could you be doing like right now?
Yeah, because we wanted to get something like really, really great, but then we're like, we would have to upgrade everything else together. Or we could get something that will work with what we've got right now, but would still be a big step up from what we currently have going on. So,
Yeah. So the one thing that we've been kind of like keeping an eye on and monitoring is the Canon 80D. It just seems like a very reliable camera. It can do, 1080p, 60 frames per second, and although it doesn't have the 4K resolution, I mean, we don't really have a way to view 4K natively ourselves, so it's a big thing for us.
yeah. And then just like having the ability to make sure that my computer can run everything that all the content that we pull off of the camera. So we were kind of debating, but it does seem like a good all-around kind of camera because we want to do photography with it because that's our main thing. And then we're venturing into the videography field, but we're not like huge videographers or anything like that yet. That's like something that's like a new frontier for us.
Yeah.
So we feel like this would be like a good middle ground because we wanted to upgrade cameras for a while. But then the whole video component has been kind of like a new thing that we've been kind of thinking about. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, so it's just something that we've just been keeping an eye on, and hopefully you get to pull the trigger on it soon.
Well, we'll see. It would have been good to do something during like the Black Friday stuff, but then you've got like other life things going on and you're like, it's just not a good time to do it.
What do you mean other life things going on? What could that possibly be referencing?
Maybe your car didn't pass inspection.
Yeah, so we're in New York, and every year you have to pass a yearly car inspection, and needless to say, mine failed miserably.
Pretty bad.
They called me up, and they're like, you know what, your total's probably going to be around $2,000. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I was expecting bad, and I was like, oh, you know what, it's probably going to be around like $900 this year to pass. I was not expecting double that amount.
Yeah.
So it really caught me off guard.
And it doesn't help that my car also failed inspection this year. And we already basically dropped $1,000 on my car, so
Yeah. So,
we're like $3,000 in the hole right now.
yeah. So hopefully the next few years will be good, but this one is pretty rough.
Yeah, this is tough, and like our inspections are in the same month, so I don't know how that happens, but
don't know
it's
either.
just not good timing for us.
I don't know.
So yeah, so we couldn't participate in the Black Friday madness because we financially have no means. And even though they have all those financing offers that are very attractive looking.
Yeah. It's just like when you first get that bill, it's like, oh, you have to pay a minimum of like $100 a month. And then you're like, where's this $100 coming from? And then before you know it, your finance-free period is up, and then you're paying like 20-30% interest on that camera or whatever you bought. And it just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, the interest rates are insane. So yeah, we were like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that.
I don't
It's
know
not
how
gonna
they
happen.
can get away with that. It's like ridiculous.
I don't know. You think you're getting a deal, but they're like, that's why they do it, because they know that nobody's going to like finish paying it off during that period of time. Because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I got to get this, I got to get this, I got to this. And then like
Yeah.
your amount is just insane.
Yeah, and then say you spend like $10,000 on equipment, what, 30% interest on that, like your payment's just gonna go through the roof.
Yeah, ridiculous. So, transitioning out of our Black Friday insanity, we want to talk about what we actually have. and what we actually use, and kind of go from there. So, we're currently shooting on an iPhone 7. We have 2 of those because we both have one, which we did the trade-in program, and we got a really good deal, which is why we have the iPhone 7s from our old iPhones, and we just finished paying those off, so that's great.
Yeah, like we originally had the iPhone, was it 5S? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had the 5S.
Yeah.
And they gave us a pretty good chunk of money towards the new one, so we're like, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, but we're going to be sticking with these for a while because I'm not a fan of the new...
Oh yeah, the new one with, they call it the notch.
I can't stand it.
I don't like that at all. It's such a bad design decision.
Yeah.
Like, that should not be impacting your visual field on the phone at all.
Yeah, I don't
That's just like, I don't know what they're thinking. Steve Jobs would never allow that. I'm just going to say it.
Oh, Steve.
I'm just going to say it.
So we're basically shooting all of our YouTube videos and the video that accompanies the podcast on our iPhone 7s. And as far as like our microphone, that's just my microphone that I have used for years and years and years. I don't even remember when I bought this. It's got to be at least 10 years old. It's the Audio Technica. I don't even remember the number of it. But it's just a mic that I use for like my singing that I've had forever. And I was like, oh, we could use it for the podcast too. So that's what we're using for that. Told you about my janky Frankenstein iMac. So that's the other piece that we have. What else can we talk about?
Our cameras that we use, like our DSLRs, mine is a Digital Rebel XT. I think that originally came out in 2008. And then you use the Nikon D, was it 3000?
Yep. Hi, cat.
That is our cat Stitch. She's very happy, apparently.
She's like, hello. Yeah, the D3000.
I believe that might be 1 year newer than mine.
Yeah. I mean, they're good cameras. I think they take great pictures. They just don't have, like, the megapixels like the other cameras that we're looking at have. And they don't have the video component in them at all. I think... like a year later is when, of course, because that's how our look works.
Yeah, but even nowadays, like the sensors are a lot better. Like the dynamic range, the noise reduction at like ISO, like I don't know, they can go up to like 64,000 now before you really start to notice like the image degrading. Whereas if you turn it up to 800 on ours, it's like, oh, this is not usable at all.
It's terrible. So yeah, it has to be the right conditions for us to take like good pictures, but it's still, I mean, I think they do really good.
Oh yeah.
We just wanted to upgrade, and we had looked into it, was it like a year or two ago? Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, we'll give you like $50 for this. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm like, at that point,
so
I just
sad.
rather keep it and just keep it as a secondary like body.
Yeah. It's just really sad because like I spent so much money and everything like on the camera and the lenses and the accessories for it, and it's still a good camera, but just because like what you were saying, like technology evolves so quickly that it just becomes like obsolete. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's just like not worth anything. So I feel like even though people go online and sell their cameras and stuff like that, they're usually doing it like the next model. Like I want to get into the next model, so I'm going to sell this one. Whereas like if I get something, I like to get my like use out of it. And we've had these for years. Yeah. So I guess maybe not the best decision. I don't really know.
I mean, it kind of depends. Like some people are the type of people that love to just stay current with everything. Mm-hmm. And then like... I think we just find a way to use what we have.
Yeah.
And then until it like breaks and no longer functions, and then we're like, we have to upgrade.
Yeah. Or if like there's something, I think the whole thing that's really driving us, like, yes, we did want to upgrade our cameras, but we weren't like crazy about it. But now that we're starting to get interested in the videography piece of things, that's what's kind of like, okay, now we want new cameras. Like, what can we do? But it's just not in the cards right now for us, so we're still like doing things to like move us in that direction though, just so that we can kind of like start developing the skills so that when we do have the capability to get that we can use it the right way.
Yeah, like we've kind of taken different shots and tried to do like our own like B-roll sequence, and like one of the videos that we've posted on our other channel, Tealfish Studio, we can drop a link for that. It just trying different angles and just techniques of getting footage.
Yeah, and then just kind of incorporating things that we haven't really done before, like having music in the background and taking like little still images and incorporating them in what we're presenting and stuff like that. So we're just trying to take like a little bit of a more artistic approach to our videos instead of just being very straightforward about our content. I think that just makes it more captivating. I think we got inspired by watching videos like that, and we're like, okay, like let's try to do this. We're artistic people. We want to learn new things and new techniques and do something that's really captivating. So we've kind of started already making that transition just with whatever we have at our disposal. And like it's been nice too because we're incorporating the music piece and like we're making our own music too. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so one thing that is really big on YouTube is having like some kind of background music or some kind of, soundtrack to whatever you're kind of displaying. And the big issue with that is like you can't just use whatever song you want off the internet because there's like copyright infringement. Your video can get taken down. You can get like demonetized. Like there's a lot of repercussions if you do that. So we wanted to like avoid that altogether, and we kind of channel our other side of creativity as well because we get to come up with our own music from absolutely nothing, from scratch.
Yeah. It's been really fun. We've come up with some nice things and like learned new techniques of just like making music and like kind of getting like the music and the images to work together and stuff like that, which we haven't really done. So, I mean, I think that we're kind of, now that we're making this transition, it's kind of like made us more excited about the next thing that we're going to be working on. And then taking things that are just maybe not as exciting and just making them more like captivating and exciting. And we've kind of like went back and looked at our old stuff and tried to reevaluate like what we did and like, is this something that I would watch? Is this something that I would find interesting? What could we do differently? So we always want to improve on ourselves.
Yeah, we always want to improve and innovate on ourselves and just keep pushing the boundaries and pushing our creativity. Like, we like to take what we see other people doing and kind of try to put our own spin on it. And it's just really fun to do this. Like,
yeah, I think that's like what drives us is like you said it the one day you're just like, I just think we like new things.
Yeah, we're always looking for new things to like dive into, and it's just like super exciting.
Yeah, like we would just like to learn new techniques and just kind of get new areas of expertise. Not that we're like experts in anything, but like just being like, okay, I want to like learn this and become really good at it. And then I'm like, okay, now what? Like, let's go to this and let's try this. And then like putting those things together and like reworking things. And it's just been really like an exciting time as far as like our creativity goes, because we kind of went through a little bit of a slump there for a while. So
I think everybody that's in the creative field has like the ups and downs. And then right now, like, I think the exciting part is like finding out how all these things intertwine and how you can use them together to kind of push out something that can have like so many different like meanings to people and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's nice to get those techniques under your belt, and like when you're struggling to learn something, you can kind of take that and be like, okay, this is like what I learned. This is like the nitty gritty stuff. And then if you want to help somebody else, be like, this is where I struggled. Let me try to break it down so it's easier for you to understand, so you can take that and you can use it for your own stuff. So I think that's something that we like to do too, is just kind of like figure things out and then be like, this is where we screwed up and this is what you can avoid so that your experience isn't as horrendous as ours was.
Very true.
So, yeah.
So, kind of on this topic of always having like the best equipment or wanting better equipment, and seeing everybody else using like amazing equipment and stuff like that and the results that they get, like some of these people using like the Canon Was it the
1DX
the
Mark II.
1DX Mark II? You know, they get this footage that's shot at 120 frames per second at 1080p, and then they slow it down, and it's like buttery smooth. And you're like, I want to do that, and it's just can be very like hard to balance like what you want to accomplish and like what you can without feeling like I'm not gonna ever get anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's really important is not to compare yourself to other people.
Yeah, that's
Like
for sure.
what you have to do is focus on the things that you have and try to master those while you have them. Mm-hmm. And then that'll just kind of keep evolving as you keep your career going.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because you can definitely start feeling inadequate, because sometimes, like, and I'll admit, like, there's been times where I'm like, we're creative people, we've started our own business, we've done a lot of creative things, but like the stuff that we do doesn't necessarily translate to like a lot of the things that we're doing right now is like in the YouTube world and like in podcasting and stuff, and those are like our new ventures. But some of the things that we do don't necessarily translate to that platform, because like I do a lot of painting and you do like the illustrations and stuff like that, and like I know that there's a way that you can put that content out there. We just don't have the capacity to do it yet. Like we want to be able to like create the things and have like those overhead shots where you can see us like actually making things and tutorials and stuff, but currently those things don't translate. So the things that do translate, we're just not at the same level as some people that we're watching. So it can make you feel really inadequate, and you're like, oh, like I feel like I'm this artistic person and we've started a business and we're doing all of this stuff, but we don't have the views or we don't have the following, or like look at what this person's putting out there, and I feel like such an amateur, like comparing myself to that. But like that's such a trap to fall in, because then you're like, you feel really bad about yourself, and then you're like, is it even worth it? Like, why am I putting stuff out there? Nobody's looking at it, nobody's watching it, nobody's listening. But honestly, that really doesn't matter, like when it comes down to it, because if you're doing this stuff, you should be doing it for yourself, not necessarily for anybody else. If people like enjoy your content and get something out of it, that's wonderful, but it should just be basically about your own journey and your own outlet for creativity.
Yes.
So I think that's why when we were like, oh, like look at all this stuff, I really would like to do that, we went back and looked at our own videos. Like we weren't like looking at other people's stuff. We were, which was what was inspiring us, but it's a difference of being inspired by somebody and being envious of somebody. So like being inspired by somebody, you're like, oh wow, look at this stuff. This is like something like I would like to pursue. Let me go back and look at my old content and be like, what could I have done better, or what could we do better? So I think that's a great point, because it does like definitely like there's like that fine line between like I'm so jealous of this person versus wow, I'm so inspired by this person, you know. So that's my spiel.
That's very good.
Yeah, like I feel like it's exciting to be inspired by somebody else and like wanting to like push yourself to get to that level.
Yes.
I think that's like the thing with us is like we constantly want to like improve and like get better and do more things. So that's good.
That is very true. I feel like I'm always like my worst critic, and I always like want to push it to like the next level. That's just how we are.
Yeah. But I don't think you get better unless you're aware of like your limitations. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm the best at this, I'm so good at this, because then you're never going to improve. If you think that you've reached the top level, there's always a place that you can go, and there's always going to be people that are better than you. There's always going to be people that have like a different spin than you, but that shouldn't hold you back from doing your own stuff.
Yes, that's very true too.
Yeah. Continue.
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to add on top of that, but I will say...
I like went on a rant right there.
I will say that it's very important just to focus on your own personal growth and not to worry about what other people are doing. But it is very good to watch other people and get inspiration from them. So another thing to keep in mind is even though you're working with what you have, there could be a lot of opportunities to get equipment from other areas. Our local camera shop offers rentals. I think they said, I think it was like $50 a day. You could rent like a 5D Mark IV.
I think so.
Yeah.
They had a couple different.
And then there's
things.
one other one too. I think it was a 7D Mark II. I think they offered a rental for that one as well. Mm-hmm. So you don't actually have to own the equipment. Like if you had a shoot that you had to do, you could just rent it for the day and then, write that in to your invoice for your customer. Like the cost of the equipment to rent for the day. Like they should cover that for you. The other thing too, we have a client that wants to do like a video thing, and we didn't really have a DSLR that can shoot video, as we've kind of mentioned, so we found that my dad had one, so we're gonna borrow his, and he's gonna let us use that to shoot what we need to shoot, and then we'll give it back to him after.
Mm-hmm. So there's always ways around it, so I wouldn't let the equipment stop you from taking on new jobs or new opportunities that might come your way, because you can always find like a way to get something that you might need.
And kind of on top of that is networking is always good too.
Yes.
Like say you're a graphic designer and you're not very good at photographing, but you know somebody that is, and then you can network with them, and maybe they'll refer clients to you down the road, like if they are looking for like invitations or something like that. So it's always good to network with people that you know, because jobs can go both ways. Mm-hmm.
And it'd be good to collaborate with people too, if there are certain projects that you're working on and you do collaborations and you just support each other. Didn't they have like a thing after Black Friday where it's like Small Business Saturday or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's like supporting each other and supporting like small businesses or up and coming businesses and stuff like that. It's always good to do that too.
Mm-hmm. And your cat. Support your cat.
Yeah.
I think that's what she's trying to say.
Mm-hmm. She's like, me too.
That kind of wraps up everything we have for you this week. If you have any comments or suggestions on the episode, please let us know on Twitter at Unbounded Artist. And be sure to listen on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or on Stitcher.
Yes, and thank you again so much for listening. We hope you join us again on the next one. And from Tealfish Studio, thank you, and may your artistry always be unbounded. Bye.
Bye.